A lot of painters and a lot of the modelers tend to either fall into what we call a hard surface camp, which are things like planes, spaceships, hardware, and then you've got your organic creature type stuff.
What helps me is to go back to real things, to study nature, to see how a feather functions, how it's actually constructed so brilliantly. And if I can take some of that enthusiasm and curiosity, I can bring that into my work.
To create the reality, the visual effects supervisors lead an army of production managers, artists, and technicians to realize the most complicated imagery, on time and on budget. The starting point begins with the ILM art department.
The concept artists and the art department in general are sort of the front end group or the spearhead to get everybody on the same page, a starting point. In a lot of cases at ILM, they'll be designing the effect sequences or the creatures or the environments of the world of our clients, the directors we work with.
As often happens, directors ask ILM to create imagery that has never been done. The visual effects supervisor brings these challenges to ILM's research and development department.
One of the great things about ILM is that you have an R&D department. I can go to them and say, you know what, I need controllable smoke. It just has to do this. And you've got a brilliant team of smart people that can say, okay, you know what, we're going to make a smoke system, and they come up with the goods.
Everything that you see on the screen is meticulously assembled out of hundreds or thousands of different elements. And those are all there because an artist put them there. So much of it is about giving them tools to layer in greater and greater complexity, but always with the control that's necessary to give the director the images that he's after.
On set, the visual effects supervisor is responsible for delivering the live-action elements to ILM's artists.
When you're in principal photography, you have 300, 350 people in the crew, and your day is costing about $250,000 a day. And there's a question, and you need to answer that question. Everybody turns to you, and you have about 2 seconds to say exactly what you need these people to do, and then they do it.
One of the things I love about this place is the ILM methodology. We try to create an atmosphere here where creative people are free to share their opinions about things. If somebody has a good idea about a shot, say it. And when people are honest about what they think, the work is better.
There's amazing times when you're struggling with something. You may be working on it for days or even weeks, and everybody's thinking about how to solve a certain problem. And you really get a sense of a community art going on at that time, where it's all been worth it, and they come together and contribute to something that's never been done.
Nearing the dawn of the new millennium, George Lucas returned to ILM as a client with the daunting task of making 3 new Star Wars prequels.
George had to wait to do the prequels because his vision was so grand and it was so big, and he wanted to do so much that he had to wait for the technology to catch up. And I think what he saw in ILM, in the work that ILM was doing throughout the 1990s, sort of encouraged him to believe that finally the time had come and it was absolutely possible to achieve greatness.
I could sort of come in and push things forward as the owner and as the client.
We're pushing the envelope in a few places, but the biggest issue is volume. It was just the amount of stuff.
We were attempting a scale of visual effects that had never been done before. Over 90% of that movie has some sort of visual effect in it. We over doubled the size of our computer graphics department for that movie, as well as the potential change in culture of the company because we were growing so much. So there was the trepidation of, wow, have we bitten off more than we can chew, and can we do this?
It's not just that we have to do it for this picture, we have to do it for 2 more pictures, and also if this picture works, then everybody also wants it done for their picture. And what are we going to do?
We had over 2,000 visual effects shots in it. There were so many aspects of what needed to be depicted that couldn't be done with the tools that we had at the time.
It's painful, it's scary, and a lot of things, and you need somebody there to hold your hand and say, look, I'll take the blame. If this doesn't work, I take the blame. And that's why I've always done it on my own movies.
Okay, so listen, I'm doing my damnedest to figure out, well, how do we even do a shot like this? And okay, well, these are the techniques I think they're going to be the most bang for the buck. And geez, well, you just have to be able to animate that in 2 weeks.
We had very dense scenes with hundreds or thousands of characters in them. We had to do rigid body dynamics, cloth simulations, synthetic terrains. You know, the list of things that we needed to develop new tools for was quite large and intimidating.
The real point is how can we manage to change the operating procedures in a way that we can completely revolutionize the way we make movies so that this is all doable.
We'd have discussions back and forth in the beginning, you know, the supervisors and myself, and said, no, I want to do this, and I want to do that. And they said, well, yeah. And sometimes I'd say, we're going to do it anyway. And they said, no, we can't. And I said, we're going to do this. I know we can do this.
What he brought to us was something that had never been sort of accomplished before, and he really pushed us as a company to grow and learn how to create such a large vision.
You do a big, complicated show like that, you develop some confidence in the process of take big problems, you break them down into smaller problems, you break those smaller problems down into yet smaller problems until you get to a scale where it's tractable by a single person. And so when a new big project comes in with some kind of scary unknown aspect to it, you have to comfort yourself with the fact that, well, we've been doing this for a long time and this process works. It always works.
When I was asked to paint Yoda as a computer-generated character, I really remembered what it was like for me when I first saw Yoda on that screen and what Frank Oz had done with him as a character. That was a real honor to be asked to work on him. To get Yoda's expression, to get his character, was terribly important that we get that right.
The fear of loss is a path to the dark side.
In the CG universe, performers were now challenged to act in virtual worlds with invisible characters unlike ever before.
That was the time we created the Jar Jar Binks character. And a lot of people feel different ways about Jar Jar Binks, but the fact of the matter was, you had a living, breathing character who was acting alongside the actors for a large portion of that film. And it really showed that you could have digital characters integrated with live action people and make that work.
I remember meeting Liam Neeson after he'd done one of the Star Wars movies, and he went, Robin, I don't know anymore. I really don't want to act. I've given up. I don't really think I can. I think because I've just spent time looking at an X. I don't know what it's about anymore. Really, I've trained to do lots of amazing things, but now I've just been looking at an X for a long time. And if I saw him, I went, oh no, they've gotten poor Liam. Dear God, dear God. I would have liked to have worked with a Yoda character. That would have been fun. Because I've worked with the Muppets, and I can deal with the fact there's a guy under there going, I'll work with the puppet, I see you, it's okay. Syntax none have.
The dark side clouds everything. Impossible to see. The future is.
They would bring the puppet in so you could see it and get a visual of how tall he was or where he was going to be. And sometimes I had to walk with him and talk with him, which was kind of new too, because he usually didn't walk and talk. That was a whole bunch of new stuff that they were able to do with him. So I just had to pick a spot and kind of do it. I kind of like that. I'm an only child, so I played by myself a lot in my room. I made up stuff. And I'm used to fighting things that aren't there, talking to people that aren't there. It's perfect for me. So when actors complain about it, I just kind of look at them and go, raise your imagination. This is the perfect time to do what you want. I was very happy to know that I was part of something that was changing the way people were gonna make, watch, and create film for the rest of the time.
The Phantom Menace was released on May 19th, 1999. And became the highest-grossing Star Wars film of all. Its success paved the way for the next two films that were shot completely on digital high-definition cameras, showcasing the most extensive use of virtual characters and environments ever. George brought the original Star Wars universe back into popular culture in a whole new way.
You're George Lucas!
I take it you're here for the Star Wars convention. Oh, dear God.
Oh my God, George Lucas!
All of the films that Lucasfilm has made have become culturally significant in one way or another. And people have a very emotional connection to props and costumes and artwork because it's part of something much larger that really affected them. So when I walk around here, everything that I see fills me with memories of, you know, a movie that I watched, an experience that I had.
It's pretty incredible to see all of the costumes, and it was like nerd's paradise. All of a sudden I was 12, like, that's so cool.
No matter how much you romanticize a weapon or a mask or a costume or a character, you come and touch it and somebody had to paint it and build it and cast it out of foam or wood or plastic or what have you.
It's really wonderful and heartwarming for me to come up here and see these models that I built almost 30 years ago, because it brings back so many memories. You don't think about these things for so long, and then you see them, and it's like, oh gosh, I remember when I built that. Whoops, 10 people just died. It's odd, though. We didn't build them to last forever, and we certainly didn't build them to go out into traveling shows and be in museums. And so it's kind of odd to see them up here where they won't let us touch them, and if something breaks off, they photograph where it came off and they put it in a little plastic bag and seal it up.
When you see them and you realize when they lit them, they had a life. They were a creature. Yoda. To see Yoda like, moving not. CG take work is.
In 2001, ILM brought history to life like never before with the epic World War II battle sequences in Pearl Harbor, another series of landmark achievements for the company. In 2004, they created the first extreme close-up of a realistic digital human for Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, ushering in a new era for digital actors. The realism paved the way for the highly anticipated Pirates of the Caribbean films.
When the script for Pirates came in, the gag was that our crew of pirates were cursed so that when they appeared in moonlight, they were these tattered skeletons, which immediately brought back memories of Jason and the Argonauts. There's a scene of sword-fighting skeletons that's an iconic scene. That image came immediately to my mind when I read that in the script. It's a really fun opportunity to pay homage to Ray's work, but to update it with some of the newer technology.
The Pirates of the Caribbean series made extensive use of in-camera motion capture technology, otherwise known as iMocap. This advanced system of sensors records actions of human actors and uses the information to animate digital characters.
I mean, the characters were all created by the visual effects. It wasn't makeup. They were walking around in gray suits. And, it's very difficult, for actors sometimes to interact with a character that's just wearing a gray suit with a beanie. But since our actors are so well trained and so professional, they did a fantastic job.